kidnap wealthy people and extort their family for large sums of money as ransom. As police officer Victor Fuentes calms the family, 18's wealthy father receives a call from human trafficker Daniel Sanchez, who is very interested in 18's $10 million life insurance policy. 18 is discovered near a highway overpass, blindfolded and in his underwear, but alive, after the father and Victor arrange a dead drop. Meanwhile, former CIA officer John Creasy visits his old friend Paul Rayburn in Mexico, who is living like a king with all the people surrounding him. The old friends are talking about life when Paul suddenly asks Creasy if he has been working lately. Creasy replies no and runs around different places every now and then. Mexican businessman Samuel Ramos, on the other hand, consults with his attorney Jordan Kalfas about the kidnapping incident, which has convinced Samuel's wife, Lisa, that their 9-year-old daughter, Peta, requires the services of a bodyguard. Samuel is hesitant, and it is hinted that he is experiencing financial difficulties, as Peta had a bodyguard until lately, but they had to let him go. Attorney Kalfas informs Samuel that he needs to employ another bodyguard to renew the family's ransom insurance and suggests he speak with Paul, a former CIA agent who now operates an executive security agency. Because of the rising frequency of kidnappings in Mexico, Paul persuades Creasy to work as a bodyguard for Samuel Ramos. Samuel is pleased by Creasy's resume, which includes experience in counterinsurgency and counterterrorism operations. Creasy, on the other hand, is exhausted by all the death and tragedy and has turned to alcoholism to cope. Samuel strongly advises him to keep his alcoholism a secret from both of them. Creasy arrives at the Ramos residence and is introduced to Samuel's wife, Lisa, who is also an American, and daughter, Peta. Creasy is also introduced to his new room inside the residence by Peta. Early on the following day, Creasy is planning out his route to Peta's school. On the way to school, Peta notices some scars on Creasy's hands. Then, she starts asking about Creasy's personal information while Creasy notices a car following from behind. Upon arriving at the school, Peta instructs Creasy to sign in at the school lobby to keep records of Peta's guardian. Peta introduces Creasy as her personal bodyguard to the school headmistress named Sister Anna. Then, the bell rings, indicating that the classes are about to start. Creasy steps out of the school to wait for Peta. After Peta's class, they immediately went straight home. Creasy frankly tells Peta that he is getting paid to be his bodyguard and not as a friend. Peta gets upset upon hearing this and gets out of the car to move to the back seat. Later in the evening, Lisa asks Creasy how he has been going so far as a bodyguard, and he immediately replies he has been doing great with Peta. After Lisa leaves Creasy, he is still struggling with alcohol right before going to sleep. He even tries to commit suicide, but his gun misfires. Then, Creasy calls Paul in the middle of the night to ask for a defective 9mm bullet. Paul attributes this to a bullet's tendency to find its way to truly deserving targets. The next day, Creasy notices a car following again to the car he was driving while on the way to Peta's school with Lisa as a passenger as well. He immediately asks Peta for a pencil while he grabs a piece of paper in his pocket to write down the vehicle's plate number. Later on, Creasy's initial annoyance with Peta gradually fades as he finds himself opening out to the child. In her parents' absence, he stands in for them, giving her guidance and coaching her in her swimming sessions. He helps her overcome her phobia of the sound of starting pistols, transforming it into a desire to move when she hears one. When Peta's parents arrive from their business trip, they give her a dog which she has been asking for quite some time already. On the day of the swimming competition, Samuel and Lisa were not present. Instead, Creasy takes the place of Peta's guardian while doing his duty. Creasy is watching Peta closely as she competes. Peta wins the competition, and he is silently overwhelmed. Peta celebrates her victory in a cafe with Creasy, Paul, and his wife, Alicia, after the competition. Peta presents Creasy with an insignia of St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes, claiming she purchased it with her own money. Creasy is about to drink another shot of alcohol late at night when he notices it is already empty. Instead, he takes out the Holy Bible and reads a verse from it. Meanwhile, Peta tells her father, who is out playing golf, that she prefers swimming over playing the piano. Samuel, on the other hand, demands that her daughter pursue pianists and enrolls her in a piano lesson. The next day, Peta heads to her piano lesson with Creasy and his new dog named Sam. Creasy instructs Peta to distract her piano teacher by burping so the teacher will be disappointed, and she will be back in the swimming training. Creasy spots a strange vehicle driving by and a pair of police cars shutting off the surrounding street shortly after transporting her to a piano audition. Creasy pulls out his gun and fires a shot into the air, similar to a starting pistol, frightening Peta into running away. During the subsequent shootout, 4 of the attackers, including 2 corrupt police officers, are killed. Creasy is critically injured and incapacitated as a result of the battle, allowing the surviving kidnappers to capture Peta and drive away. While Creasy is comatose in the hospital, the police chief publicly mocks him, claiming he murdered the two cops. Mariana Guerrero, a journalist, finds it intriguing that the cops were supposed to be off duty yet were still in uniform and driving squad cars. Miguel Manzano, her federal ministerial police contact, stated flatly that the cops were corrupt. They plan to contact Creasy after he has recovered. Although Kalfas wishes to keep the police out of the negotiations for Peta's release, the deaths of the two officers make the kidnapping a police problem, so Fuentes takes command, promising the family that the prospects of Peta's safe return are strong if they listen to him. Soon later, Sanchez demands a $10 million ransom in exchange for Peta. Although Ramos is supposed to go to the drop alone, Fuentes warns against it and follows Ramos there. The kidnappers are attacked during the drop, forcing Ramos and Fuentes to flee. Sanchez, enraged, confesses that his nephew was killed in the ambush, and he blames Ramos for disregarding his orders. Peta is eternally lost to them, which is thought to indicate she is dead. Paul discovers Creasy's predicament and assists Creasy in escaping to a safe location where he may recover from his injuries. Investigators help Creasy to be alive in order to help recognize the syndicate behind the rampant kidnapping in Mexico. Manzano shows Creasy the lists of wanted criminals, but he does not recognize any of them. Creasy suggests checking the lists of corrupt police officers. Manzano is certain that the government will protect the police involvement in the case since they are protected by a brotherhood called La Hermandad. For Creasy's safety, Paul decides to send him back to America but immediately refuses the idea. Creasy wants to get back to the crime scene where he last saw Peta. Also, Mariana Guerrero is trying to have a scoop on this case and follows Creasy and Paul. Mariana reaches out to Creasy and wants to help him find Peta and her kidnappers. She already suspects the La Hermandad for the people behind this modus. Creasy returns to Peta's house and assures Lisa that he would kill everyone participating in or profiting from the kidnapping. Creasy armies himself with a plethora of weapons and ammunition. Creasy calls Mariana to look for the owner of the last plate number who took Peta. However, he is not certain of the last digit and asks her to get the 10 possible matches of the plate number to the Agency for Federal Investigation headquarters in Mexico City. Luckily, Creasy is successful in locating the kidnapper's address and recognizes the getaway vehicle used. Creasy learns that the kidnappers are police judicial officers. Creasy tortures the corrupt police by cutting his fingers one by one until he gets to know where he can find the people who deliver Peta to the kidnapping boss. Then, he kills the police and lets the car jump off a cliff. Afterward, Creasy's next target is the group named the Guardians. He goes to an open bar where the group is running its operation. Creasy learns that the anti-kidnapping investigator Fuentes is part of the kidnapping operation and finds out another victim hidden inside the bar. He also gets the chance to confiscate an ATM card where all the money for their kidnapping service is dropped. With help from Mariana, he learns that Fuentes will be traveling through the city in a high-security motorcade. Creasy turns over the kidnapped kid and the woman whistleblower to Mariana. Creasy uses a hotel suite as a sniper's nest to destroy the armored vehicles escorting Fuentes' limo, then proceeds down to the street to attack the surviving guards. Creasy intercepts the limo and knocks Fuentes down after a protracted shootout utilizing advanced guerrilla warfare tactics. Under the bridge on a highway, Creasy interrogates Fuentes. He confesses that he ambushed the dead drop since he had previously organized so many of them. He anticipated it to be simple money. However, the bag stolen from the drop contained only $2.5 million, less than a fourth of the total ransom. Creasy discovers that the other half of the ransom money is at Samuel's lawyer, Kalfas, who has a vested interest in it. Fuentes pleads to be forgiven, claiming that he is nothing more than a paid professional like Creasy. Creasy, disgusted, explains that while Fuentes lay unconscious, he buried an explosive within his rectum, which will explode in 5 minutes. Fuentes spends the last few minutes of his life wailing until the explosive detonates, killing him, while Creasy walks away. Creasy tracks down another $2.5 million to Kalfas and goes to confront him, only to discover his severed body lying in a pool. He discovers that the kidnapping was planned by Samuel. Creasy approaches Ramos, who admits that he was on the verge of bankruptcy, so Kalfas advises staging Peta's kidnapping so that he can collect the insurance money. Kalfas had taken care of most of the details, assuring Ramos that Peta would only be watching cartoons at a secure house for a few hours. Samuel killed Kalfas for his betrayal. When Fuentes became too greedy, things went wrong. Ramos blamed Kalfas for this and had him executed. Creasy leaves a revolver and a single bullet from his unsuccessful suicide attempt on the table, reinforcing Rayburn's prior admonition about bullets always finding deserving targets. Samuel shoots himself after Creasy and Lisa have left. On the other hand, Mariana and Manzano trace the ATM card to the Voice's wife and find her address, allowing Manzano's officers to infiltrate her home and obtain a photo of the Voice. Mariana is preparing to publish Sanchez's photo in the newspaper when she is assaulted on the way home by a gang member who threatens to kill her if she does. Despite the threats from the Brotherhood, Guerrero publishes the photo, gives Creasy the address, and headlines Tiene Vo El Miedo. Creasy gains entry to Sanchez's brother Aurelio's apartment after learning where he resides. Creasy gets wounded in the chest by Aurelio, but he is able to flee. Aurelio tries to flee in a Volkswagen bus, but Creasy shoots him and causes him to crash into a massive truck. Creasy returns Aurelio to his apartment and kidnaps Sanchez's heavily pregnant wife, Reina. He tortures Aurelio and coerces Reina into calling Sanchez. Meanwhile, Manzano's crew is preparing to track down Daniel's call in their headquarters. Daniel calls Creasy and threatens him with his family, but Daniel reveals that Pita is still alive and offers to trade her for his brother and Creasy, which Creasy accepts. Creasy urges Lisa to accompany him to the exchange and transports her to a remote rural area where she looks for the injured Aurelio while he searches for Daniel. He finds Daniel and his guys and rejoins Pita. She rushes to her mother once he captures Pita. Aurelio and Creasy, on the other hand, hop into a car and exchange his life for Pita's, which drives away. The movie ends with Creasy died from his gunshot wound, dropping the Street Jude symbol that Pita had given him in the back seat. Meanwhile, Manzano hunts Daniel down later that day and kills him during an arrest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this and help the channel grow.